Oh, hello YouTubers. Listening to this old X 10-inch record with jug bands, Dixieland jug blowers, with this jug band. Going to there. Last weekend, or the Sunday last week, I went to record fair in Stockholm. Thought I was going to make a video about it then, but I felt I didn't really have time for it, so I've waited until now. So I'm going to show you some of the records that I found there. But first of all, I'm going to mention the sad death of. Well, it's a bit sad really that I often have to start these videos with talking about the death about somebody who we admire, but I guess that's part of life. And I'm going to talk about this lady, Joan Rivers, who passed away. This is an album from 1980-something, called Can We Talk? And this is an earlier one from the 1960s, I think from 1960 something. The next to last Joan Rivers album. I thought she was incredibly mean, but also incredibly funny. So sad to hear that she passed away, but she was active up until her very last days, and I think that's really cool. Not going to talk that much about all her surgery that made her look a bit unreal the last 20 years, but still nothing wrong with the brains, and of course she was incredibly funny, so sad to see her go. Yes, I'm going to I'm going to start by digressing immediately from the theme of the Eriksdalshallen record fair theme, because I'm going to show you two albums that I didn't get there. First of all, one of these SWAT records reissues by the Finnish prog group Wigwam, and I'm both a great fan of Wigwam but also a great fan of the record label SWAT records. This is truly a luxury item. I don't remember the I don't remember the color of the vinyl now, but it's not black, and lots of text and incredibly good pressings, so nice to listen to. And then Sony Music Entertainment, they do their reissues as well, but they call it Music on Vinyl. Also very good, or maybe not that luxurious, but still. Found this, Bob Dylan, Time Out of Mind. I guess it's very hard to find on vinyl, the original issue from 1997. Bob Dylan, produced by Daniel Lanois. And I have to say, I prefer this album to Oh Mercy. Most people talk about Oh Mercy when they think about collaborations between Bob Dylan and Daniel Lanois, but I think this is much better. Although Bob Dylan himself wasn't too keen about the sound, I read about that, so he decided not to make any more albums with him. So, over to the records I found at the fair. It was a fairly good fair, not one of the bigger ones, but still quite nice. I managed to find records that I wanted, so I'm going to show them to you now. First, I had the luck of finding quite cheap some really nice albums with old jazz recordings. I'm going to put them in order here. Yeah, you know I'm a great fan of 20s music, 1920s music, and I also am a great fan of these 1960s reissues without the fake stereo. And we have on one of the Decca subsidiaries Ace of Hearts, Jugs and Washboards, with Georgia Washboard Stompers and the Alabama Jug Bands. This reissue is from 1967, and it has a very nice and interesting back sleeve text by the late great discographer Brian Rust. More washboard music on Ace of Hearts. Jimmy Bertrand's Washboard Wizards, Clarence Williams and his Washboard Band, Beale Street Washboard Band, Alabama Washboard Stompers, Chicago Stompers. Pardon me. This is from 1963. Washboard Rhythm. Another Ace of Hearts album, King Oliver's Dixie Syncopators, with recordings from the 20s, although this album is from 1962, also with a text by Brian Rust. On the Regal label we have Hells, Bells and Hallelujah, Venuti, Lang and Rollini. That's Joe Venuti, Eddie Lang and Adrian Rollini, of course. Recordings from the early 30s on Regal, the EMI label. Another Ace of Hearts issue, Jazz at the Apex Club, Jimmy Noon's Apex Club Orchestra. Recordings from 1928 to 1930. Not sure when this is from, but probably early 60s. Yeah, probably that. Then we have a French issue, Louis Russell, featuring J.C. Higginbottom, Henry Allen, Bill Coleman, Albert Nicholas and Pops Foster, 1929 to 1930, on Odeon. And these are recordings from yeah, well, obviously 1929 to 1930. I'm not sure when this issue is from though, but probably somewhere in the 1960s. And finally, I have loads of these early, or loads. I have some of these early George Formby compilations. This is George Formby's Souvenir on Decca Ace of Clubs, and it's from 1961. And all of these in immaculate condition, and I didn't pay that much for each, so I have no problems buying them. Right, over to some other music. We first have the singer and pianist and songwriter Shai Coltrane. I didn't know that much about her before I found this album, but the sleeve appealed to me, and who can blame me? And but it's very good. She wrote most of her songs herself, and we got some really good musicians on this album backing her up, like Jim Gordon and Ron Tutt on drums, and Larry Knechtel on on bass, sorry, and Lee Sklar on bass, and many others. So really good album. Shai Coltrane. Can't read. Shai Coltrane. Sorry. Did I say Collins before? Really. Right, I got some Finnish prog too. We have this. This is a 45 RPM, 12-inch. Well, it's like an EP then. Purple vinyl. According to the seller, this was only pressed in 100 copies, and it's very good. Samal number 2. Samal Kaksi. And this is issued by Svart Records as well, that I talked about earlier. And some other Finnish album. Yeah. By the rock group Beast Milk. It's their album Climax, also on Svart Records. Svart means black, but this is on white, milky white vinyl, so very, very good, very good. Happy to find this. There's so much good music coming from Finland, really. I've been more and more interested in Finnish music the last 2-3 years, so still lots to explore. At the last record fair I went, I found a stateside issue with Lee Dorsey, and this is another stateside issue with Lee Dorsey. I think this is slightly before the other one. The new Lee Dorsey, working in a coal mine, and Holy Cow, his big hits. And it's the new thing is probably they mean the cooperation with Alain Toussaint, and it's great. It's from 1966. Lots of interesting American music was obviously first heard in England on the stateside label. That was EMI's label for imported American pop, rock, and well, blues and soul recordings. Very happy I found this. And I since the early 90s, when I heard this working on a coal mine on a compilation album I had, I've been a great fan of Lee Dorsey. Right. Then we have the British band The Greatest Show on Earth, and this is a compilation with material from their two albums on Harvest from the I think late 60s, early 70s. This is from the mid 70s on Harvest. Very good. Then we have Buckwheat, Pure Buckwheat Honey. This is a stereo recording and should be listened to with both ears. That's good to know. And it's on the Super K label, and that's some subsidiary label to Buddha Records. I haven't heard on this. I haven't listened to this yet, so I can't really say anything about it yet, but I will. Right, then we have the Swedish rock and roll legend, Jerry Williams, or Erik Fernström, as his real name was. He made his record, first record in the early 60s, and was active as a performer and touring artist up until, well, I think last year he made some sort of farewell concert or farewell tour. This is an album from 1970, and in many ways it's about old rock and roll standards that are given a bit of a blues, not blues, a bit of a soul dash retro rock treatment. Well, we have Jailhouse Rock, It's Only Make Believe, Blue Suede Shoes, but still, even if they are mainly covers and it's not one of his most exciting albums, in my book at least, it's still a very good album, and he managed to make the songs his own, even if they are very famous cover songs. This is from 1970, by the way. Right. 3 more to go. Right, the French Yeah Yeah Girl. This is François Hardy. I think it's from 1965, yeah, 1966. It's on Disc Vogue, and it's a bit torn and a bit beat up, but it still plays good, and it's very enjoyable. And she was a great artist, looked very good, and had a lovely voice, and it was like a symbol for the young French pop woman in the 1960s. So I asked who can resist François Hardy, and I got, well, those who replied, well, very few could resist. Some could, but not all. Right. Fairport Convention, the Bonnie Bunch of Roses on Vertigo. This is from 1977. I think it's one of the later Fairport Convention albums. Not from their best years, the Sandy Denny years, you know what I mean. But still, I think this looked interesting, and well, it's all right. It's not the Fairport Convention when they were as best, but still, not bad at all. Then finally, this the organ phantom, Billy Preston, the most exciting organ ever. And this is a mono album on Exodus Records. I think Exodus is some sort of early reissue. I think this was originally issued in around 1964, and this Exodus was maybe issued in 65 or 66. Anyway, I heard some of these recordings on a compilation album that I had in the early 90s, so some of them were quite familiar, but I like his way of playing. We got the songs like Billy's Bag and If I Had a Hammer and Slipping and Sliding. Good dance music, good instrumental dance music, and a lovely heavy organ here. Right. Well, I think that's about it. There won't be any more record fairs now until, well, I think late September, and probably I will mostly spend my time working, but we have some interesting releases coming up in a couple of days. We got the Beatles mono box, and I remember when I bought the big vinyl stereo box here, I think 2 years ago, I thought, well, I hope they make some vinyl issues of the mono albums as well, because as many of us know, the Beatles themselves put more effort into the mixing of the mono albums than the stereo albums, and I can understand that, because some of the stereo mixes are a bit too much stereo, like drums and guitars in one channel and all the vocals in the other channel. Not really that good to listen to, especially not with headphones. So, well, with the Beatles is one of those examples. So I've been wanting more Beatles on mono lately. So it's an expensive box, but I think I can manage to get it anyway, because, well, I was asked when we were filming for this hopefully upcoming TV series, I was asked by one of them if I was going to get the mono box by Beatles, and I told him then that, well, I really don't need it, because I've got lots of Beatles out there, but I don't have that much in mono, so I if I know myself, I think I said, if I know myself, and I do, I'm quite sure I'll get it. So I will get it. I'm quite sure of that. So what was my point? I have no idea. But anyway, I'm going to continue working here and enjoy some music. And I wish that all of you have a nice upcoming week, whether you work or whether you don't work. Well, bye for now.